Here's where it appears to have come from. At the end of World War II, before it even ended, Alan Dulles and people from our intelligence community were already through Switzerland making contacts to get out Nazi scientists. As World War II ends, they not only get out rocket scientists, but they also get out some Nazi doctors who have been doing mind control research in the death camps. They brought them to the United States. Along with them was a young boy, a teenager, who had been raised in a Hasidic Jewish tradition and a background of Kabbalistic mysticism that probably appealed to people in the cult because at least by the turn of the century, Aleister Crowley had been introducing Kabbalism into satanic stuff, if not earlier. And I suspect it may have formed some bond between them. But he saved his skin by collaborating and being an assistant to them in the death camp experiments. They brought him with them. And they started doing mind control research for military intelligence in military hospitals in the United States. And the people that came, the Nazi doctors, were Satanists. Subsequently, the boy changed his name, Americanized it some, obtained an MD degree, became a physician, and continued this work and appears to be at the center of the cult programming today. His name is known to patients throughout the country.
The way you create Manchurian candidates is you divide the mind. It's part of what the intelligence community wanted to look at. If you're going to get an assassin, if you're going to get somebody to go do something, you divide the mind. Kabbalistic mysticism is mixed all into this. If you're going to work with this, you need to pick up a couple of books on the Kabbalah. One is by a man named Dion Fortune, D-I-O-N, Fortune, F-O-R-T-U-N-E, called the Kabbalah with a Q. Dion Fortune. Another is by Ann Williams-Heller. Ann Williams-Heller. And it is called the Kabbalah with a K, K-A-B-B-A-L-A-H, I believe. It's a $10 quest book, Ann Williams-Heller. H-E-L-L-E-R, Ann Williams-Heller, the Kabbalah, K-A-B-B-A-L-A-H. I knew nothing about the Kabbalah. It was interesting, a patient had sat in my waiting area, got there considerably early, and drew a detailed, multicolored Kabbalistic tree over 2 years ago. And it took me 2 months to figure out what it was. Finally showing it to somebody else, they said, that looks an awful lot like the Kabbalistic tree. And that rang a bell with some esoterica in an old book, and I dug it out. That was the background of Dr. Green. Now, the interesting thing about the green tree is his original name was Greenbaum. What does Greenbaum mean in German? Green tree. Ultra green in the green tree. I've also had patients who didn't appear to know that his original name was Green, volunteered that there were parts inside named Mr. Greenbaum. Let me give you some information about parts inside that may be helpful to you if you're going to inquire about these things. Because my experience is, one part will give you some information and either run dry or get defensive or scared and stop. And so you punt, and you make an end run, and you come around the other direction, you find another part. I'll tell you several parts to ask for, and ask if there's a part by this name. And by the way, when I'm screening patients and fiddling around with this, I throw in a bunch of spurious ones, and ask, is there a part inside by this name and by that name? As a check on whether or not it appears genuine. For example, in addition to the core, I ask, is there a part inside named wisdom? Wisdom is part of the Kabbalistic tree. Is there a part inside named Diana? Diana is a part that in the Kabbalistic system is associated with a part called the foundation. You can be fascinated to know that, remember the Process Church? Roman Polanski's wife, Sharon Tate, was killed by the Manson family who were associated with the Process Church. And a lot of prominent people in Hollywood were associated. Then they went underground, the books say, in about 78 and vanished. Well, they're alive and well in southern Utah. We have a thick file in the Utah Department of Public Safety documenting that they moved to southern Utah, north of Kanab, bought a movie ranch in the desert, renovated it, expanded it, built a bunch of buildings there, carefully monitored so that very few people go out of there and no one can get in, and changed their name. And a key word in their name is foundation. The foundation, and there's some other words. And foundation is part of the tree. So you can ask, is there something inside known as the foundation? I've also found that there will often be a part called black master, a part called master programmer, and that there will be computer operators inside. How many of you have come on to computer things in patients? There will typically be computer operators. Computer operator black, computer operator green, computer operator purple. Sometimes they'll have numbers instead. Sometimes they'll be called systems information directors. And you can find out the head one of those. They'll often be a source of some information for you. I will ask inside, is there a part inside named Dr. Green? You'll find that there are, if they have this kind of programming, in my experience. And usually with a little work and reframing, you can turn them and help them to realize that they were really a child part who's playing a role and they had no choice then, but they do now. Now, they have tried to protect this very carefully. Let me give you an example with ultra green. I've discovered this, by the way, I used to think this programming was only in bloodline people. I've discovered it in bloodline people, but it's a bit different. They don't want it to be just the same. And I don't think you'll find deep things like ultra green and probably not even green programming at this deep or with non-bloodline people. But let me tell you something that I discovered first in a non-bloodline and then in a bloodline. We were going along and a patient was close to getting well, approaching final integration in a non-bloodline, and she suddenly started hallucinating. And her fingers were becoming hammers and other things like that. And so I used an affect bridge and we went back. And we found that what happened was that they gave suggestions that if she ever got well, got to a certain point, she would go crazy. And the way they did this was they strapped her down and they gave her LSD when she was 8 years old. And then when she began hallucinating, they inquired about the nature of the hallucinations so that they could utilize them in good Ericksonian fashion and build on them. And then combine the drug effect with powerful suggestions. If you ever get to this point, you will go crazy. If you ever get fully integrated and get well, you will go crazy like this and will be locked up in an institution for the rest of your life. And they gave those suggestions vigorously and repetitively. Finally, they introduced other suggestions that rather than have this happen, it would be easier to just kill yourself. In a bloodline patient then, as I began inquiring about deep material, the patient started to experience similar symptoms. We went back and we found that identical things were done to her. And this was called the green bomb, B-O-M-B. Lots of interesting internal consistencies, like that play on words with Dr. Greenbaum, his original name. Now, in this case, it was done to her at age 9 for the first time. And then, only hers was different. Hers was a suggestion for amnesia. If you ever remember anything about ultra green and the green tree, you will go crazy. You will become a vegetable and be locked up forever. And then finally the suggestions added, and it'll be easier to just kill yourself than have that happen to you. If you even remember it. At age 12 then, 3 years later, They used what sounds like an Amytal interview to try to breach the amnesia and find out if they could. They couldn't. So then they strapped her down again, took and gave her something to kind of paralyze her body, gave her LSD, an even bigger dose, and reinforced all the suggestions. Did a similar thing at the age of 16. So these are some of the kind of booby traps you'll run into. There are a number of cases where they've combined powerful drug effects like this with a suggestion to keep us from discovering some of this deeper level stuff. What's the bottom? Your guess is as good as mine. But I can tell you that I've had a lot of therapists who were stymied with these cases. They were going nowhere. In fact, someone here that I told some basic information about this to in Ohio a couple of months ago said it opened all sorts of things up.